Clara had been on enough awkward first dates to know when things weren't going anywhere, but tonight felt different, at least at first. Daniel was charming, well-dressed, and quick with compliments that made her blush. They chose a cozy restaurant downtown, with warm lighting and soft music that almost made her believe in the magic of dating again. For the first 20 minutes, everything seemed perfect. Daniel asked her questions, laughed at her jokes, and seemed genuinely interested. Clara began to think, maybe this one isn't like the others. But just as the waiter brought their drinks, Daniel excused himself. "I'll be right back," he said casually, pushing his chair back. Clara smiled, expecting him to return in a minute or two. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 15. Clara's smile faded as she glanced toward the bathrooms, her fingers nervously tracing the rim of her glass. The waiter passed by, offering a polite smile, but she could feel the eyes of other diners. Alone at the table, she wondered if she'd just been stood up in the most humiliating way possible. Clara's mind spiraled as she sat there, staring at the untouched bread basket. Had he really just left her? No explanation, no goodbye. She felt the sting of humiliation creep up her neck as whispers floated from a nearby table. She pulled out her phone, checked for messages, but nothing. Her best friend texted, "How's the date going? Is he as dreamy as you said?" Clara's chest tightened. How could she answer that when the man had literally vanished? Finally, after nearly half an hour, Clara stood. Her legs felt heavy as she made her way toward the entrance, ready to call it a night and add this disaster to her long list of dating horror stories. But then, as she reached for the door, she froze. Across the street, illuminated by the glow of the city lights, she saw Daniel. And what she saw him doing made her blood run cold. Through the glass doors of the restaurant, Clara could see Daniel across the street. He wasn't on his phone or calling a cab or even looking lost. No, he was with someone. A woman. She watched in disbelief as he leaned against the lamppost, smiling in that same charming way he had smiled at her not long ago. The woman laughed, touching his arm like they knew each other well. Clara's heart pounded. Had he just left their date to meet someone else? Every possibility ran through her head. Maybe it was his sister, a co-worker, even a friend. But when the woman stepped closer and he pulled her into a kiss, Clara's knees nearly buckled. Her breath caught in her throat. Just minutes earlier, he had been asking about her hobbies, her dreams, her favorite movies. And now he was across the street, lips pressed against someone else's, as if Clara didn't even exist. The humiliation burned hotter than anger. People in the restaurant still glanced her way, probably wondering if she'd been abandoned. They didn't know the half of it. Clara's hands trembled as she stepped outside, unsure if she wanted to confront him or run in the opposite direction. She pulled out her phone and zoomed in, just to be certain she wasn't imagining things. The screen confirmed it. Daniel, kissing another woman while Clara sat waiting like a fool inside. But then, just as she turned to leave, she heard something. Laughter. Not just Daniel's, but the woman's too. A laugh she recognized. Her stomach twisted. She knew that voice. When the woman stepped fully into the light, Clara's heart sank. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a random date. It was Megan, her co-worker. The same co-worker she had confided in about her nerves for tonight. The same one who had helped her pick this very dress. The betrayal hit twice as hard. Daniel hadn't just lied. Megan had too. And now Clara wasn't sure which cut deeper, the man who vanished or the friend who had stolen the night from her. Clara's heart raced as she stood frozen on the sidewalk, watching Daniel and Megan laugh as if the world belonged to them. Her pulse thundered in her ears, and before she could stop herself, her feet carried her across the street. Really? Clara's voice cracked as both of them turned, their smiles evaporating. Daniel's face went pale, while Megan's widened in shock. "Clara, Megan started, but Clara held up a hand. "Don't. Just don't. You knew how excited I was for tonight. You knew what this meant to me." Daniel stepped forward, trying to play it cool. "It's not what it looks like." Clara laughed bitterly, tears stinging her eyes. "You left me sitting there for half an hour while you kissed my co-worker on the street. Tell me, Daniel, what does it look like?" Silence fell. Passers-by slowed to watch, their curious glances cutting through Daniel's facade. He shoved his hands in his pockets, but he couldn't hide the truth. Megan looked away, shame washing over her. For Clara, that was enough. She didn't need an apology. She didn't need excuses. She turned on her heel, her dignity intact, leaving them both in the wreckage of their choices. Back home, Clara sat on her bed, makeup smudged, but her spirit unbroken. She pulled out her journal and wrote one sentence: "If someone can walk away that easily, let them." She realized that betrayal says more about the betrayer than the betrayed. Daniel had shown her his true self: dishonest, shallow, unworthy. Megan had revealed hers: disloyal, envious, false. And as painful as it was, Clara felt a strange relief. She didn't waste months finding out who they were. She learned in one night. She folded her dress neatly into her closet, not as a reminder of humiliation, but as a symbol of survival. One date, 2 betrayals, and a hard truth. Sometimes, losing people is the biggest win. Because while they ended up with each other, Clara walked away with something far more valuable: clarity, self-respect, and the freedom to choose better next time. What would you have done if you were Clara? Would you have confronted them on the street or walked away without a word? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to Dating Horror Stories, where the worst nights turn into the strongest lessons.